This bill wipes out nutrition assistance.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America because we need more detention facilities across the country. We only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work.
Really glad you could join us today. We're jumping into some pretty complex stuff, recent legislative debates, policy shifts that are definitely making waves and, affecting everyday life here. Our goal, as always, is to kind of cut through that noise, look at these big political events, and really try to get to the heart of what's actually going on.
Absolutely. And it's crucial, isn't it, to understand the details behind those headlines, especially when policies hit home like these do. These aren't just abstract discussions. They're dynamic. They have real-world consequences. So, yeah, let's unpack them.
Okay, let's kick off with a statement that definitely caught my eye. Senator Bernie Sanders talking about what he called the big, beautiful bill, right? And he claimed it's, quote, taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids.
This bill wipes out nutrition assistance for millions of hungry kids in America. We are literally taking food out of the mouths of hungry kids.
That's a powerful image.
It really is. And, it's interesting because that rhetoric contrasts so sharply with what the bill itself says it aims to do. People call it the Big Beautiful Bill. Yeah, that's the nickname, but officially it's a budget reconciliation bill. And a key part targets SNP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. But the focus, according to the text, is on reform specifically tackling fraud. The stated intention is making sure benefits go to those genuinely in need, especially kids.
So fraud prevention, basically.
See, that seems to be the core argument, yes. And critically, despite Senator Sanders' claim, the bill itself actually maintains the funding levels for SNAP. The idea presented is to protect that nutritional support for low-income families while tightening up the program's integrity. It really highlights that gap you sometimes see between, let's say, political framing and the actual policy details. It makes it tough for people to know what's really happening.
Right, that makes sense. You hear the soundbite, but the details tell a slightly different story.
Okay, so putting SNAP aside for a moment, let's shift internationally. There was this situation with Canada and a proposed digital services tax. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called it a mistake. She said it would hurt our tech companies here in the United States.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. It was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax that would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States.
And then the update came pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Leavitt announced the Prime Minister called the president last night to let the president know that he would be dropping that tax. Quite a turnaround.
It really was. And it's significant, not just as a diplomatic win, It shows how these bilateral talks happening before things escalate can work. This proposed tax, it would have hit U.S. tech companies' revenue from their Canadian users directly. That obviously sparked major economic worries. Could have caused real friction, trade friction between us and Canada, who are, incredibly close allies.
So the diplomatic channels worked. It appears so. Dropping the tax avoided those potential tensions. And maybe sets a bit of a precedent for how these digital tax issues might be handled between major partners going forward. It stops a potentially harmful trade conflict before it starts.
Interesting. A win for the tech sector, certainly. Okay, let's bring it back home then. We mentioned the big, beautiful bill regarding SNP, but Caroline Leavitt also highlighted its healthcare aspects. She stated this same bill strengthens Medicaid and, quote, will protect those benefits that hardworking Americans need.
Rural hospitals comprise 7% of all hospital spending on Medicaid, and that illustrates that they have not benefited from the massive increase of waste, fraud, and abuse under the Biden administration. So this bill strengthens Medicaid. It will protect those benefits.
How does it aim to do that?
Right. So the bill addresses Medicaid, too. The mechanism described is an expansion of Medicaid funding. The stated goal is to improve healthcare access for low-income individuals and working-class Americans. There are specific provisions included that are designed to enhance the coverage available and also streamline how the services are delivered.
Streamline services, like making it easier to navigate.
That seems to be the intent, yes. Making it more efficient, ensuring continued support for the millions who really depend on Medicaid. It's about bolstering that safety net, according to the administration.
Okay. So, support for SNP maintained, potential trade war averted, Medicaid strengthened. What else is in this big, beautiful bill? Immigration comes up too, doesn't it?
It does. That's another major component.
Caroline Leavitt was quite direct on this. She said, We need more detention facilities across the country to house detained illegals.
Because we need more detention facilities across the country. The last administration let in nearly 20 million illegal people from all over the world, and this administration is focused on arresting and detaining them. We only have 7,000 ICE agents in the interior who are doing this very important work.
And she also mentioned staffing, highlighting, we only have 7,000 ICE agents doing this very important work, so we need more personnel. And then she directly tied it back. That's why we must pass the one big beautiful bill.
Exactly. And this ties directly into what the bill proposes. It includes specific provisions for increased funding for ICE immigration and customs enforcement. That funding is targeted for two main things: expanding detention capacity, those facilities Leavitt mentioned, and hiring more ICE agents.
To manage enforcement, essentially.
Precisely. The stated goal here is to tackle the existing shortages in capacity and, overall, significantly boost border security operations. It's framed as giving ICE the resources, both facilities and personnel, needed to enforce immigration laws effectively at the border and within the country.
So, quite a range of issues bundled into this one legislative effort, then. SNAP, international trade implications avoided, Medicaid funding, and border security resources.
A very wide range, yes.
Yeah.
It touches on domestic social programs, international economics, and national security.
It really underscores the need to, look past the quick headlines or the initial political spin sometimes. Getting into the details of what a bill actually proposes to do, that's where the real understanding lies, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you start to see how these different areas, which might seem separate, are actually quite connected within these larger legislative pushes. Understanding those connections, those details, that's what really empowers you, the listener, as an informed citizen.
Well said.
So maybe a final thought to leave with everyone listening. Think about how the specifics of these policy shifts, the things often kind of hidden beneath the main headlines, might actually shape the future. Not just the big picture of American policy, but potentially aspects of your own daily life down the road. Something to ponder.